Peace, everyone. Welcome to Friday night. And today we
Peace.
have a Rise takeover straight out of ATL. With me, I have Deborah and Cameron who are going to be here, and going to, be great members of our panel tonight. So I just hope to see some fires in the chat. And this is going to be fun. So, peace, everyone. I'm glad to have you guys here on this Friday night. Make sure you definitely hit the like button and subscribe. And one of my panel members like to say hello.
Hi, peace, everyone. It's me, Deborah.
Peace. It's the one and only Cameron from Atlanta. And I hope everybody have a nice night today.
All right. So I think there's nothing else to do but just hop into it. So if we could start with the first panel or first slide. The Strength in Humility, the title of tonight's message. So before we get into anything, I kind of want to know your thoughts, and chat, feel free to weigh in on this. What is everyone's thoughts when they read this title, The Strength in Humility?
I feel as though, when it comes, of course, you have to start with the strength aspect of the quote. I feel like, especially when it comes to like life and stuff like that, it's difficult, sometimes to stay humble. Sometimes you don't know how to stay humble in some ways, and just to be, calm, cool, collected. There's always a strength in that, and not to be haughty or arrogant that you see sometimes, especially when people be ignorant about some matters.
That's so true.
I agree with Cameron. It can be hard to be humble sometimes, which goes to show the strength within itself. If you can humble yourself and correct your wrongdoings, it can. I feel like also the title kind of just shows that you can influence others to be humble. Like people take note of that. So I feel like that's what it means when I read it.
I love those points. I think you guys are hitting it like on the nail tonight. So already, let's get some fires in the chat for that. I want to also weigh in. I like how you guys mentioned how the amount of work and I guess strength you actually need to be humble, because it's not always as easy as people may think it is. There's a lot of, I feel like, just through personal experience, especially as you're growing up when you're young, you always think you know better or know it all, and sometimes you may need a cold splash of water to realize, hey, you're wrong. Um, so it's definitely a process when you're young, trying to learn to sometimes just be more humble and try to listen to what people are saying before automatically jumping to your own conclusion. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on with today's message, and I kind of would explore some powerful and great Israelite leaders who we've all heard from before, but I kind of want to look at it from the angle of how who they are and their humility made them such great and effective leaders, because they were able to see the bigger picture in a way. It wasn't just them at the top. Every action they did was for the people around them and for the people that they cared about. So that's what I kind of want to focus on, kind of want to highlight, and just show how humility can lead to being an effective leader and really just a all around better person and a better Israelite. And that's something that we should strive for every single day. All right, so let's jump into the next slide.
Sounds
And I
good.
see the fires in the chat. Let's keep that up. So once again, I'm gonna have another question. I'll be checking the chat. So audience, I want to know your opinions too. How does being humble affect someone's leadership? I think, Deborah, you had a good point about how humility, people are able to learn and see that and appreciate that. So I want to hear your answer to this question.
I feel like when someone's humble, it just shows their character so well. It's just like the way I see it is like such a bright light. Like you take note of that and you can see who they truly are. I feel like your humility really shows who you are, and I feel like that's so important as a leader because we're not always going to get it right. I know working in leadership is hard. It's a hard job. So it's it's very powerful when they're humble enough to, say whatever they need to say because you don't want to come off as like you're better than everyone else, you know what I'm saying? So I think you can learn a lot from someone with humility or in that position.
Also, another point I feel like is really important is the ability to have like open mind to things.
Mhm.
Yes, pigeonhole or put yourself in a bubble in a lot of cases. Like the best, like the best organizations, the best managers or whatever in the workforce, they listen to the people that are helping in day to day operations of things. They need their reports so they can make life better for most people. You can't sometimes sometimes yeah, like as far as perspectives, you may not understand like someone else's perspective, even like as like a child to a parent, or a parent to a child. Sometimes you don't know what's really going on, and just that humility of hearing both sides, I feel is paramount, especially to success and relationship success as well.
That's so
Yeah,
true.
it's important to have an open mind as a leader because you might have to take certain things and certain positions a different way. You have to have an outlook on certain things. So, being able to be open minded to other people and hearing what they have to say, I think is very important. So, that was a really good point.
I also think from sometimes in a leadership position, you can't always expect thanks for every single task that you do.
Hmm.
That can sometimes get overlooked. So sometimes I think a great leader is able to looking at things of I got to get this task done, and I can't be doing it just for praise. I have to do it for the betterment of the group as a whole. So that's why I think having that humility to once again you're looking beyond just doing it for a sense of praise or your own glory. You're just doing it because this is what's the best course of action. I feel like that's a really important trait for a leader to have, which also goes into a follow-up question that I want to ask you guys is what are some characteristics that you think a humble person should have or even a humble person shows? And even go ahead and give some examples.
So, real quick, I'd like to acknowledge the one comment I see by Felicia. I feel like that's one of the good characteristics to have to be able to listen. As a leader, you need to make sure that your flock or your people are with you. So being humble and be able to listen to others, they'll listen back to you. It's at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a respect thing. Like even though yeah, you may get paid more or you may have a certain different like background than I do, but at the end of the day, is one on one. It's about your actions. Um, about it, and also another characteristic I think is important. Or like of course on having like humble leadership is patience as well and faith in that person. Um, like I said, when it comes to listening and your actions showing that you need to, and to a certain extent, put your faith in that person that you're listening to, so they don't give you no bad information. Um, but yeah.
That's
To tie all that together, I think you guys made some really great points. I think listening is a very good quality as a humble leader. Um, it's just usually for what I like, anytime there's like a group project or anything, there's someone leading it or I'm leading it, I usually want to be a leader that is open to listening to multiple ideas. When someone is willing to listen to what I have to say or what I have to bring, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel, I guess, included in a way. I feel like that's an important quality to have, and sometimes you have to turn stuff down, which is normal, but you have to do it in a way that isn't like, "Oh, I'm better than you," so
And I think if you show that you are a person who is listening and is humble like that, when you do have to say, okay, no, I don't think that's a good idea, I feel like those people who are following you are more able to admit that because they understand that you're a person who is being truthful and honest. You're not
Mhm.
just putting me down for the sake of putting me down. So I think that's a great point.
Respect thing, yeah. Respect
Like
is a big part
like
in
you
that.
guys like you guys said, like with humility does come with a stronger sense of respect when you are interacting with more humble leaders. And I think in today's world we could use a lot more humble people. There's
Um,
definitely some people who are haughty.
do you remember a few years ago that Ocean Gate situation with the
Yeah.
submarine? I feel like that was a clear case of not being people being arrogant and causing
Mhm.
those lies. Yeah, they're going down the Titanic. Like there's places where Israelites we don't go to. We don't. We're not going to the desert ocean. Our place is here with our people to take care of our people.
Yes.
You don't go spraying like graveyards and get blown up like that. I feel like, and it's so funny. Like there's like a whole documentary about it. But they not listen to like the measurements or certain like clarifications and didn't pass safety checks. They know all those. Yeah, no, I got this. Now look at them. Yeah. I just
Exactly.
found like there's so many different examples of how important it is to have humility. Out there. There's countless of examples. I just feel like that's one of the more
Like
famous
that's
for
It's so
years.
interesting you bring that up because we were literally talking about that in class today. So I think that's so interesting you bring that up. What a
that's a
coincidence.
that's genuinely a really good connection. So once again, let's get some fires in the chat for this awesome panel. But even jumping off that, like, because to me the craziest thing is they went down to see the Titanic, and the Titanic fell because of that same level of, I guess, haughty and prideness. The biggest ship, it can't be sunk.
And it makes sense.
Regard,
I mean,
disregard.
they were millionaires. They've probably been told that they're all this and that for, their whole life. So of course they're not gonna like try to go by the rules or anything and make sure it's perfect because they think they know everything.
That's another good point about having humility. Know your limits. I feel
Mhm.
that's extremely important. As an arrogant leader, you think you can conquer anything. You think you can be God even. You can tell, So just the fact that, as an Israelite, you need to know your limits, your limitations. You need to know like, who created you, your creator, and how you serve him. You don't just go out willy nilly. You follow the laws, such as the commandments, and I feel that's paramount. And as we all just said just now, that's why it happened. Why it happened, how it happened.
That's, you gotta know. You have to be able to understand. I guess one thing I really admire about Israel is that once again we have that understanding that we aren't gods, and I feel like when you look out to the side of the world, it's always an attempt to be God. You see with
Mhm.
them trying to make their own processed food and things along that nature of them just trying to go higher and higher and get closer to God. Like the Tower of Babel. I think of that story every time, because once again it's just another attempt of man going beyond, trying to go beyond their limits, and then suffering the disaster that comes with it. So you guys are making some really great comparisons tonight. I'm glad to have you on.
I'm sorry. I have another thing to say,
No,
but
go
I
ahead.
saw Felicia's cooking today. I don't know. I just seen something else when she said when I was a child, I did childish things. I feel like that's why I'm thinking like maturity is also like
Mhm.
one part of humility as well, and just gaining that wisdom, of how to do that. You saw that in leaders like in Solomon, King Solomon. He was the wisest king, and he was humble. He was able to listen to people and see what both sides are saying before he made a decision. Sometimes people will skip that part, to be skipping steps. They're not humble and be modest in their decisions.
That's so true. Felicia even followed up with saying, "There's no true wisdom or understanding in the world." That's facts. She's cooking tonight. Let's get some fires in the chat for Felicia Singleton, you guys. Come on. But even hopping off of that, how you mentioned, Cameron, maturity coming along with like humility and maturity, they going hand in hand. I can strongly relate to that. I feel like I was a lot more prideful when I was younger. Prideful. I'm not gonna act like I'm still, I'm still growing, of course. So, we still make those mistakes from time to time, but I do feel like it's something that really comes with age and experience, and how Felicia mentioned wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, you can't become humble. To me, if you're not able to, learn from those mistakes in your past, then how can you, make sure to humble yourself to avoid that? So, that's just like a great comparison to me.
Hmm.
All right, we're getting some fires in the chat. You guys are burning it down. All right, we're gonna hop into the first scripture of the night so we can go to the next slide. And we have Exodus 32 verses 1 to 6. We have Moses, who I feel like is a textbook example of a great and humble leader. And I'm gonna just, show an example of his capabilities as a leader, and we'll go into his humility and why he was such an effective leader. But first, chat. I'm going to ask you guys the age-old question. Which three of us do you want to read tonight? Ooh, we'll let chat choose. Where I'm seeing the most names, that's the one we'll go with. So let's see, chat. Who do we got? Who do we got? Yep.
Okay, okay. They got the boy. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Wrap it up.
It's
Wrap
three
it
for
up.
the boy.
Wrap it
I,
up.
Oh, everyone's
The
saying me?
crowd's saying you, Deborah.
Okay.
It just keeps going.
Oh, okay. Guess I'll read then. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
You can stop right there for just a moment. I'm gonna add a little bit of context to this. So this is right after we, escaped Egypt, and Moses is called up to the mount to talk with the God of Israel, get the instructions that he needs to lead his people. And already Israel's up to some tomfoolery already.
Mm.
Once again, I feel like this kind of perfectly depicts the type of people that Moses was dealing with at the time. Uh, these people were definitely not humble to me, and I don't feel like they took the time to really humble themselves before the God of Israel. I mean, I feel like they were so quick to just throw away all of their promises that they made previously and immediately go behind the God of Israel's back as if he doesn't see them, to wait for Moses to leave and then do all of this tomfoolery. So that's once again just giving you guys a little bit of context before we hop back into it. So go ahead.
Verse 3. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, Thy be gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play.
So as we see, are going against the God of Israel's words, disobeying. I wanted to show the scripture because I want you guys to understand the kind of situation and the kind of people Moses was forced to deal with. I feel like Moses being meek and humble was a needed trait when you're dealing with people who are like this, because Moses had to really take his time. He had to be a calm person because already I would probably snap dealing with people this disobedient. So you see how once again humility was needed to deal with stiff-necked people. And even how the children of Israel have to know what they're doing is wrong. So I feel like this just complete blatant disregard for the God of Israel is just an example of that pride and disobedience that, hey, he's not here. I can do whatever I want. What's he gonna do? I feel like I can kind of see that a lot in just a young child thinking they know everything. How it mentions how, oh, but this is the God that brought us out of the land of Egypt, as if you understand what's really going on behind the scenes or the seriousness of every situation. That's just my thoughts on it. I want to hear from the
Um,
chat, you guys.
I, I I have something else to add to that point. I just find it ironic, like when most times, like I guess for most cases, when people disobey or don't follow directions, there's always extra steps that come with that.
Mhm.
Like say for instance, I'm just outside this one scripture, but like back in the Garden of Eden, when they told him not to go into the eat the fruit from the tree of good and evil, it caused a lot of other things, but they could just not do it and be chill. And like for also like for Aaron to make it, of course, like they had to wait till Moses go out to the mountain, wait a couple days, get the earrings, melt it down, make it. You know how hard it is to make a mountain? They didn't have like no solder, like they didn't have no tools like that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't 2024. They
It
had
kind of frustrates, like, it kind of frustrates me, like, when I kind of like read, like, the children of Israel were just like, they were almost there. They kept messing up. Like, if they just listened, they would have just been where they were supposed to be. But they weren't humble. They weren't humble enough to understand what they were doing wrong. But like, I just put myself in that position. Like, I would be so upset. All those years of slavery were this close, and then, like, come on, like.
Yeah, there was a lot of like thought process had to go through those things. That was definitely not. That was definitely premeditated. You know. Also, yeah, like that's another thing. When it comes to humility, right? Like people will be thinking, like say for instance, when people think, oh yeah, like well, as Israelites, we like yeah, we tell you the truth, about the name of God. People would be thinking they have to go through a whole life journey, defeat bad guys, and talk to some old man to find out the name of God. But you come to Israel Nation, well, Ministries, and like, oh yeah, it's in Exodus 3:15. Like,
They still don't want to hear it. They
dang.
choose not to hear it.
So like that's just I don't know, like I don't know. I feel like that's humility also plays a part in that as well.
So true.
Yeah.
I feel like even like that's why you see one thing that just kind of made me think of is a lot of those like because when sometimes I'll be working and I'll see this old Hebrew Israelite guy come in and I'm just sitting at the stands, bro, and I have my name tag, it says Levi, and I'm like, please don't let them notice that because the moment they do, they're gonna start this in the Bible, this, and it's like they are trying to teach you and they don't know anything what they're talking about. And it's once again, I guess to me, it's just once again a lack of humility. I feel like people like
Yeah,
that
I think
always.
that's another separation with us. Like the other group, there's a separation. You can just tell there's a separation. We're humble, and when we speak our lessons, when we speak our truth, there's a humility to it. There's patience. There's been many examples where we've had people come into Saturday lessons and think, "Oh, I'm walking in. I know this. I know that." How are we supposed to teach you since you know everything? You know what I'm saying? So it's very hard to teach people that are stuck in their ways, and I think that really creates a distinction with Israelites and outsiders. So yeah.
Also, I saw a point. Jorge said in the chat says they were definitely skilled because none of that was easy. I'm like, yeah, if they're skilled enough to do that, they could have built houses. They could make a bakery if they want bread.
Oh,
They
right, so much.
could have made so many different things. And like you get like to your point, Deborah, like yeah, like people trying to come and they claim their cup is full. Like, what's the point of coming? Like,
Exactly. You know everything. Like, why are you here?
yeah, like, mhm.
Also, real quick, because I just want to point out a donation from Dion. Thank you, Rise. All praise to the God of Israel. Thank you, Dion. We appreciate the donation.
Yeah. Love
Appreciate it.
it.
Donations.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
I'll let y'all get back to it. But yeah, I feel like especially when especially like we do see that a lot of people who think they know everything when you come into Israel. And sometimes I feel like they always try to take it too high. They're talking about the spirits and this and that and that. It's just like, first of all, let's make sure you understand what Genesis is about before we start trying to talk about Revelations.
They already
So
talking about baptism. Like, you just got here.
yeah, humility is definitely a very key part of Israel and when you even look at it, because we're teaching people who their whole lives have been taught something different. So from the teacher's perspective, you have to be humble enough and have the patience to understand, hey, they're not going to get everything right away. But then also, if you want to come and learn this, you also have to have the humility to understand this isn't going to be like what I'm used to. So I need to go in with the mindset that I'm here to learn and soak in as much information as possible.
Yeah, most people won't go to a college PhD course for being like a neurosurgeon, thinking they are a neurosurgeon. Like that, it's the same principle. I think.
That's so true. I think that's a great point. We're going to move on to the next slide. So
Also, another thing. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
But like people might say, like, yeah, but I'm not mentally stimulated. When it comes to like, oh yeah, I'm trying to learn my ABC, but I already know EFG. But I feel like you gotta understand the bigger picture of things. Like people need to, like I said, it's open mindedness. You have to know the bigger picture. Yeah, you might know what baptism is by definition, or you may know, who's the Son of God or whatever, but you need to know like how we got to that point because that's almost just as important as the baptism. Like there's not like the new moon Sabbaths, how to pray. That's how you get to that point of the baptism because you don't know those basic skills, how will you get to that level?
Exactly. Like you can't come with the mindset that, oh, I'm gonna be an elder and a priest, and you don't even know how to recite the pledge or pray. Like,
Also, like when you think about it too, every time, an example on like television or movies, you always see the leader or like the master teacher, like for like let's say Kung Fu Panda or Lego Ninjago. Like there's always something about the teacher that teaches the kung fu or whatever. They always have some type of like patience. They always like say patience or make sure you're calm before you do this when they're teaching their student. You can always see like there's a type of persona. Usually when the teacher is like harsh or like you got no mercy, no mercy, they're on the other side and they're evil. Like it paints a picture like that, like how you view teachers should be, in my opinion.
yeah, I feel like from a teacher's perspective, humility is important because you kind of want to be, I guess, once again, like you said, understanding. I feel that's one thing that we've been talking a lot is being able to understand what a person's saying and hear it and listening out. And then even from Israel, sometimes you do have to be strict, but it's in the sense of guidance. Okay,
Mhm.
we're one thing I really appreciate is anytime I see Elder Donna, Elder Denise, or Uncle Dexter Elder Dexter when they're interacting with newcomers, is they would say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. You shouldn't feel the need to rush to this." You know what I mean? We're
Mhm.
gonna go at your own pace to make you feel comfortable. It's the idea that we're not rushing you or anything. We understand that it's a process, and I feel like it's a really important thing to have as a teacher in Israel. Of course, understand that it's going to take time when you have to help people get into this. It takes time to change. That's
Also,
all.
another thing, just from the opposite side of it, Jorge made another good point, but patience and humility will play a big part in your growth. Even at the student to teacher side of it, like I know some students learn quicker than others, So sometimes you need that humility to have the patience to listen to how they're their struggles and how to help them solve their problems as well. And it grows you. And teachers grow too. Like they don't just stop growing when you become a teacher. They become a better teacher. Down the road. That's what it
Mhm.
comes with. But
That's a great point. Let's get some fires in the chat and sevens, yo. Let's go. This is a great panel. It's a small panel, but we're doing awesome. So
Yeah, we
fires
are.
in the chat. Let's
Fire
go.
it up.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next slide. And chat. Who will read this part? Who will read Exodus 32, verse 9 to 13? Who do we want? Who do we want? Cameron's is that a volunteer?
no. I was trying to influence the vote.
Let's see. I see you
Ah,
as one for Levi, 3 for Cameron,
this
another one for
is
Deborah.
rap. This is rap. Oh, you got me.
5 Cameron.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Cameron. The people have spoken.
Okay. So, and the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make thee a great nation. And Moses besought the Lord his God, and said, The Lord, why dost thou wrath wax hot against thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and a mighty hand? Wherefore shall the Egyptians speak and say, For mischief did he bring them out to slay them in the mountains and consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from thy fierce wrath and repent of this evil against thy people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou swearest by thine own self, saidst unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give you unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever.
Amen. Thank you,
Yeah,
Cameron.
the
Thank
camera. Yeah, I know. I see. I think yeah, I appreciate that.
you. Um, so thank you, Cameron, for that. So the reason I wanted to pick out this one was I kind of wanted to highlight Moses' leadership. It's a short, little expert, but I feel like this is a great example of the kind of leader Moses was. First of all, as we spoke and how we talked in the beginning, when you're a humble person, people know that when you give them criticism, it's not out of you trying to put them down or hate on them. It's the truth. It's honesty. And I feel like in this situation, I want you to put yourself in Moses' shoes. This is the all powerful King of Kings, Lord of Lords. You just see him split the Red Sea, and you are trying to disagree or say, no, you shouldn't do that to him. So to me, that would be terrifying. That would be a scary position to be in because if he said so, blip, and you're gone. But one, Moses had the
Mhm.
courage to speak up and say something on our behalf, to save the children of Israel. Real quick, thank you, Jorge Santos, for the donation. Rise up. Thank you.
Rise
So,
up today. Yeah.
but back to what I was saying is the idea of how Moses' humility, to me, when I think the God of Israel heard that criticism coming from Moses, he understood this isn't a man who's just saying this to try and spite me or anything. He's an honest and humble person. So I can understand that what he's saying is truthful. So that's one positive thing that I feel like a humble leader will have is whatever criticism you give to someone, because we know that you're not a person who's trying to put or hate or anything like that. We know that that criticism is truthful and honest. So that's one character trait I guess I really admire. And then another thing is I appreciate how in this scenario, Moses, once again, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, I feel like this is kind of a dangerous situation to kind of talk back to the to the God of Israel a little bit. But Moses, I feel like he's willing to risk his own safety for the sake of his people. And that's one thing that I really admire about him.
And it really shows you the God of Israel is humble himself, that he was willing to hear and listen to and reason with Moses. So I think
Exactly.
that's another thing to point out too.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's why I meant that same point. And I'm thanking for the super sticker, Miss Felicia.
Thank you.
Um, but yeah, like I don't know what else I can add. I mean, y'all said a lot. I love how of course, Moses reminded him of the promise to Abraham. I feel like that was poetic. Name the forefathers, and everlasting mercy. I feel like God original everything. So I feel like, he understands too, but I feel like God original was like mad even for Moses, like I know with my mother, when someone did me wrong, my mother be more mad at me, you know. It'd be like that, but as a parent, it'd be like that. But um, I feel like there was a lot of love and respect between them two, and it's really beautiful to see.
It's so true. Thank you. I really liked how Deborah described it, how the humility of the God of Israel. Because one thing I think sometimes we can kind of overlook is I, I don't want to say this, but I feel like we kind of mentioned in the idea of perfection is perfection doesn't mean you do everything 100% or right and you don't mess up or you don't slip up. That's not what perfection is to me. It's the constant growth and trying to do better each and every time. And the God of Israel, he even once again he has emotions like we do, and he's in a moment where his emotions are taking over his action, and he just wants to get rid of them, as anybody would. But once again, how you guys mentioned his humility was able to be, no, I can't do that. Moses is right. I have to listen to him. These people will be my inheritance. That's the promise that I made, and I have to stick to that. And that's just what I really wanted to highlight with this one because I feel like both of them have shown a great example of what I feel humility can be or how far it goes and how it can help you become a stronger and better leader. Any other comments, anything we want to add?
Not to this slide.
That was great.
Hey, let's keep it rolling then. Oh, one quick, I see Felicia Singleton with another banger.
Yeah.
Moses laid it all on the line and passed up the opportunity to have his seed be made the people of the God of Israel. Exactly. That's so true. Moses out here doing it all for his people, his own people. He's saying, listen to me. You can't get rid of them. I think that's just a great example, I really admire that. Moses just putting everything on the line. And I feel like that's what a leader has to do, you have to put the people you're leading, you have to make sure you're pushing them forward, putting them before yourself. And as we will get into, as we will get into later on, is sometimes a leader even has to be willing to, I guess, kind of take the blame for the mistakes happen. A leader has to be able to take the blame for whatever happens. You're responsible for that. So I feel like Moses is a great example of a leader, and who we have next will also be another great example. So moving on to the next slide. Well, supporting and helping others. This is, of course, what I just talked about with Moses, and with, like we said, being a great leader. Humility. I feel like to help others and effectively, you have to be humble. Because as we said, you got to be able to listen to others, and you got to be able to understand that you're not always first. You got to make sure the people you're leading are first. And here I got an example from one of my favorite anime and manga, One Piece. I had to rep a little bit, and I can already see my aunties and mother giving me a side eye for wondering why this is in here. But hold on, let me go.
Relatable. I think it's good to make
I'll tie it
connections.
back. I'll tie it back. One thing about that scene specifically is, so the main character, he's a captain of a crew, and one of his teammates, they're injured, so he has to climb up this big mountain by himself, carrying his teammates so they can get to a doctor. So the reason that I really like this scene and I like this character is because I feel like he's a good example of humility. But at the same time, and this also goes into another thing, is originally I was going to title this slide, Putting Yourself Before Others. And I didn't really like that, because I feel like as an Israelite, we do help each other, but that doesn't mean everyone we come into contact with, we put that before them. Like, you got to take care of yourself first too. You got to make sure that you're right before you start helping other people out. And I feel like that's why I wanted to put supporting or helping others first. And I feel like I said, the main character is a great example of that concept of, hey, I'm only going to go this far for people who I know will be there and be there to support me in the long run. And that's just one thing that I thought would be an interesting talking point. So I kind of wanted to hear you guys' takes.
It's a good connection. I think it's very important to as like a youth, find something that, we can relate to in more like simplified way. I like how you mentioned how, it takes a lot to kind of just, kind of like take the blame and kind of like face, I don't know what to have the word I want to say, but as a leader, you do kind of have to take responsibility for a lot of the stuff that happens. And yeah, I think that's just a really good point that you bring to the table.
I like the word responsibility. And I just felt like it kind of related a lot to Moses, because once again, he's just taking responsibility for his people. And like I said, I think that's just a great example. And then I feel like you said, with humiliating comes listening and understanding. Trying to also think, because I know there was another point I wanted to make too. But we also talked about how humbling yourself is or
I got a point.
Go ahead.
I don't know if anybody watches this show, but I do sometimes. This is a show called 600-Pound Life. I always found it really interesting because, like, they'll go in there and they weigh themselves, and they always be thinking, like, I'll be all right. I'm going to lose weight. I'll be okay with surgery. But it takes a lot out of them to recognize themselves and hold themselves accountable for the eating habits, to exercise habits, and then you have to go to the doctor. But I feel like he's humble too, but he has he needs to be more stern, towards his patients, because psychology, and mentally, they already under the mindset that I don't know if I can help myself. So they may, provide some more, more treatment to it, more stern, more attitude. Like, we don't, like, he'll actually yell at some of the patients to get them in courting so they can understand. Because sometimes, and you can tell he's probably like a nice guy, but he needs to sacrifice his own thing just to help you out, just to save your life. Because you need to care about your life. And I feel like they need the humility and how to kind of be to listen to what he has to say to help you. And I think that's like,
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely has to be a balance with, when you're a leader or a teacher. For example, like maybe like those dance shows, like like Dance Moms. I don't know if
Yeah,
you know, like Abby Lee Miller. She is more of like a stricter teacher, but that ended up causing like kind of some like sad moments for the girls on the show. And it's like, yeah, you have to be strict when you're doing certain things, but it has to be a nice balance of, patience and kindness, because if you have that balance, something beautiful can come out of that. And I feel like sometimes we either have, oh, you're too nice, or sometimes we have, oh, you're too mean, and then it just ends up going the wrong way.
yeah, sure. I feel that 100%. Of course, I'm not saying like he abuses his patients or anything. I'm just saying that he has a more attitude, more oomph than you see it when you go to
Yes.
the doctor. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, with dance routine, I be seeing that also all the time. Make sure to get the certain steps in. Follow directions. Don't just sway off the path. Like you see numerous examples in the Bible that we just even read today that they had to wait till Moses leave and make the calf. But all that to do is, do what God just said. All you
Mhm.
have to do is, listen to the doctor and follow a diet or do exercise. All you had to do was do the steps that we showed you 100 times already for the past couple weeks. There's a pattern here.
Exactly. And I like how you guys frame it, how all these people their goal is to try and to support and help someone. And in that regard, I feel like to me, I feel like you said, talking about the entire day, is I feel like humility comes with a lot of compassion. So I feel like having that is the best way to be able to help someone. Because like you said, listening and understanding. I feel like those are just, I know I'm saying that a lot, but like I feel those are
No,
really key important things.
it's
It's
good to repeat some of that stuff. Authors always repeat stuff in the Bible, so it's
exactly.
important.
But it's like there's these people, they have flaws, and in case of what you were talking about, Cameron, it's like it's so bad that their lives are at risk, so they have to understand that it's a serious problem. And I feel like sometimes as a good leader has to make sure to clarify that point to be able to support them, because at the end of the day, your goal is to make sure that person that you're putting all this work into is able to achieve and become better. So I feel like you guys really had some great points, so thank you guys. I'm glad to have
Fires in the chat, because we
fires in
gotta
chat.
eat
Y'all
that
are
up,
writing it
like
down.
low key. Fires in the chat.
Right. Ooh, Felicia Singleton, another one. Trial and error as you learn and grow. People can be very manipulative if you allow it. You have to know what your assignment is as the leader and what you have to do to achieve it. Amen. So true. That's speaking facts. You have to understand the assignment and what you got to do. Yeah. I like that quote. I like that. So let's get some more fires for Felicia Singleton. She's killing it tonight. Let's go. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I also agree. Like of course, I think it's essential to be humble, as a leader, like especially like if you don't understand what the person's talking about or don't even want to listen to the person talking about, how can you be an effective leader or effective
Exactly.
even person, individual? Like you're not
Yeah.
even beyond leader, just for yourself and your life goals. How effective can you be?
Like no, that's so real. Because like, would Moses even have been able to go up that mountain if he wasn't humble enough? Would he even be able to talk to God? Like, come on, like he was considered a friend of God. You can't be a friend of God and be a haughty person.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna work.
You can't. Those two things
That's
don't
not
correlate.
gonna work at all.
James Gibbs with a donation. Thank you. Shout out James Gibbs. Thank you.
We gonna rise up
Remember
today.
to like and
Same thing.
subscribe. All right. We're gonna hit up the next slide. All right. This slide,
I'll
First
read.
Chronicles 21 verses 1 through 5. I suppose it is now my turn to read. I mean,
I
unless Chad,
volunteer. I volunteer. I volunteer. Yeah, don't worry
We
about
should do another vote.
yeah, like let's do another vote. Like, come on now, chat. What do
Keep it
y'all think?
Who's the
interactive.
best reader here, man? I'm trying to get some drama. I was already in my scene. Don't make me break character. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I gotta go after what Cameron?
I'm ready. Yeah,
Cameron's ready. Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready this time. I was a little shy.
Fired up.
I think Cameron's ready. I think Cameron has it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of
This is the
Cameron.
wrap. Okay, let's get it.
All right.
And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. David said to Joab and to the rulers of the people, "Go and number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, and that I may know it." Joab answered, "The Lord make his people 100 times, so many more that as they be. But my Lord, the king, they are not all the Lord's servants. Why then doeth more Lord require this? Why doth the Lord require this thing? Why would he be a cause of trespass of Israel?" Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab. Wherefore Joab departed and went throughout all of Israel and came to Jerusalem. And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people unto David, and they of Israel were 1,000 and all, and 100,000 men that Judah sword, and Judah and 400 and 10,000 men drew the sword.
All right, so
Oh,
I'm gonna stop right there.
Fires in the chat for
and
that.
see.
Fires in the chat for Cameron getting into that. But I want to, once again, give him some background. Satan is out here provoking David to number the people of Israel. So the reason why this is such a serious thing is because we as Israelites, we don't always focus on the physical. So the idea is you're about to go into battle. You shouldn't have to worry about numbering the people because the God of Israel has your back no matter what. David definitely should know this, considering he took down the best Philistine warrior one-on-one, So the concept of there's always more of us than there are of them. That is one thing that is always the case with Israel. So unless the God of Israel himself is telling you, you shouldn't number the people. So that's the idea, especially when we're going into battle. That's the idea here. So
Yeah. Also agree, like, like going back to previous examples, like I know they must have heard of how the Passover, first started. Like they did not win up against Egypt. God of Israel did. He was the one that split the Red Sea.
exactly.
He's the one who made the sun stand still for Joshua. He made the the walls of Jericho fall down, and they blew trumpets. They didn't have explosives. They didn't have bombs. They had trumpets, okay? And they walked and they marched. Why do you need to count anybody? They could have 15 people and be just fine.
And to me, that action is once again going against the idea of being humble. Because once again, you lack the understanding that, hey, it's almost like an insult. Because like you said, all these other times the God of Israel was able to take care of us and get us out of the situation. So why am I putting my trust in what is the physical and what I can see when I know for a fact that God of Israel is able to pull us out of that? So that is the mistake here. It's like, once again, lack of humility, focusing on the man-made instead of the spirit, which is what we like to focus on. So thank you, Cameron. Thanks.
Cameron's
Going into
cooking. Fires in the chat for Cameron.
fire in the chat for Cam. All right. We're gonna go into the next slide.
They had trumpets, man. I just want to let y'all know. Like, you know how big the walls were?
All right. I guess I'll read this one.
I'll let you go.
Verse 7. And God was displeased with this thing, therefore he smote Israel. And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly because I have done this thing. But now I beseech thee, do away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done foolishly. And the Lord spake unto God, David's seer, saying, Go and tell David, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto thee. So Gad came to David and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, choose 3. So this is why I feel like David's a great example of humility. And what I love is David is a really great balance of humility, but still confidence. One thing I feel like I kind of don't like, and when I see sometimes in media, is how humility is related directly to weakness. That is never the case to me. I feel like David is the exact opposite of that by showing you that you can have humility and still be strong. In fact, they go hand in hand. The strength and humility that's in the title. It takes strength to be humble. So I feel like that's one thing I feel like David's such a great example of that.
Also,
Go ahead.
Oh no, it's also like to the point earlier when we first said like people say humble beginnings. Oh yeah, you come from a nice humble beginnings. It means like you came from poor neighborhood. Like humility is much more than that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much more than that. It's so true. And even like David's most iconic stories, David and Goliath. He had humility. He understood that it's bigger than me. I'm not the one who's gonna take down Goliath. It's my God.
No, I
So
mean,
once
just
again,
to like come forth to the God of Israel and admit your sins, I feel like that's it's a lot of, you have to have bravery for that and humility because you have to admit what you did wrong.
so and a lot of Israelites in this Bible don't have that level of humility. They often make things worse when they're told not to.
Fortunately.
Um, I just think a lot about what the prophets had to go through, where they're out here speaking, trying to tell these kings, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And instead of the kings, making a change, they persecute the prophets. These are the messengers of God, and you're treating them like this when all they're doing is delivering that message. And that,
Mm.
once again, is a lack of humility. They're putting themselves above God. And I feel that's just disrespect. But here, David, to me, he knows he does wrong immediately. He doesn't even have to be told. He's like, oh no, I messed up. I did something wrong. And already he's like, hey, what do I got to do to fix this? And I feel like that is the exact kind of form of leadership you want, especially when you make mistakes, because no leader is perfect. No leader can get everything right. So as a leader, you have to acknowledge the times where you mess up, and you have to be able to say, yes, I messed up. What can I do to make it better? How can I get out of the situation?
Stuff like this reminds me of you know, Israel. We were spoiled with some good leaders in the Bible, good leadership examples, like a real world example. Y'all might be too young for this, but I remember when there was like a BP oil spill a few years back to go from Mexico, and it caused a lot of damage in the wildlife in that region. They it's a bunch of oil, like gallons and gallons of oil on an oil rig exploded and stuff like that. And they they apologize, but I feel like another part of being apologized is changing your behavior because it happened again the next like year or so. Like it wasn't nothing changed. Nothing changed. See, David, he made a mistake. He apologized. He never did it again. That's it. You know,
Done.
BP. Oh yeah, we apologize. Yeah.
Is what it is.
Flint,
I still gotta
Michigan.
get that
Oh yeah,
money.
I'm sorry we gave you our dirty water, but yeah, we apologize. My bad. Yeah.
It's
I
all good.
got dirty water still. I'm like, it still didn't. It still didn't. Nothing changed. That's not
Exactly.
how effective can you be a leader. You can't change. Have the humility to recognize your mistake and change it. That's not enough to recognize your mistake.
And I feel like that's can be hard to do sometimes too, to admit that you're wrong. I feel like that's very hard. Um, I know personally there's times where it's kind of hard to just calm yourself down because you're so caught up in your emotions that you are continue to fight and you're just making things worse. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and calm yourself down to really truly be humble. But I feel like that's why I really want to get in this message is the strength it takes to do that, to immediately say, I did something wrong. What can I do to fix it? I feel like that is a great example of humility. We do have also some great points here. D. Lee Hines, humility equals strength. It requires control, discipline, and obedience. Great points. All of that is wrapped into humility. It's more than just one thing. Uh, Felicia Singleton, respecting Saul's anointed, although he could have killed him several times. Once again, great points. You have anything else? I see y'all burning down the chat. We good? All right. We're going to keep it moving on to the next verse. And I have something special for you. The three choices. All right. So verse 12 reads, either 3 years famine, 3 months be destroyed by thy foes, while that the sword of thine enemies overtaketh thee, or else 3 days the sword of the Lord, even the pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the coast of Israel. Now therefore advise thyself what word shall bring again to him that sent me. So we got three choices. And chat, I want you guys to participate. Which one do y'all have? Do you have choice number one, famine? Choice number two, destroy of foes, or choice number 3, the 3 days of pestilence and the sword of the Lord? I want to know what chat thinks. Let's see.
Let's see who's the first person to get it right.
I want to know.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah, whoever gets this right is gonna get it burnt down. We gotta burn down the chat for y'all. So let's see. What do y'all think, chat?
Survey says.
Got 1, 3.
One time.
Dun, dun, dun,
Another
dun.
3. Another 3. Wow. Getting a lot of 3s. You guys seem really confident about that.
We'll see the results.
Any more results? Any more results? Even if you don't know, take a guess. Take a guess. Let's see. Another 2 more 3s. 2 more 3s. All right. We're gonna go ahead and reveal the answer. So next slide. Choice 3 is correct.
Yeah.
All right. So it seems all of you guys have been reading the Bible and paying attention. Burn down the chat for New Day, D. Lee Hines, Thomas Glover, Willie Jackson, and Misa Vaughn. All right, let's go. Burn down that.
Tonight.
And Robin Aviel, I hope I'm saying that. Robin Aviel's, I rather our Father punish us. And I feel like that is a great example. And I think David's going to add on to that and say, and David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for every great are his mercies, but let me not fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000 men. So David, and now he has to make the choice. And one thing I feel you would understand as a king, and more importantly, the king of Israel, you are responsible for the lives of all of those citizens. It's no joke. It's no joke. 70,000 people died because of David's mistakes. And I still kind of see a lot of things to take away and learn from David, and admirable qualities, how he understands who his father is, how he understands, I choose answer 3 because, I mean, you're the Lord. I understand that only you can do this. You have the mercy. I'd rather you than someone else. And I just, once again, really appreciate that humility, and always, anytime he's in these situations, he's always giving praise to the God of Israel. And that, I feel like, is the best way to handle it. And once again, he's not arguing. He's not trying to defend himself or make excuses. It's, what did I do wrong? How can I fix it? I'll do this to the best of my ability. Okay, I apologize. I did wrong, and I'm gonna make a change. And once again, that's a great quality to have as a leader. But let me not yap too much. I gotta hear what the chat has to say. Wait, what do y'all think? What do y'all think?
For a brief second, I was thinking option 1 might have been better. Because I feel like, I was saying option 1, like the famine, 3 years of famine.
3 years of famine, though?
I feel like, I don't know, maybe because I'm in the US all the time, I could just go somewhere else to get it,
No. I mean, I guess, but I think I still feel like David made the right choice. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like he made the right choice. Yeah. I mean, it's all bad, but
I feel like I'd rather have someone who I love be in charge of that, be in charge of my butt whooping than just leaving it up to famine or someone else, And Felicia Singleton even had a point. And to see the angel with the sword destroying them, while it's not easy to be the king. That's so true. We have even more points. Robin, once again, David is owning up to what he did wrong. This is humility wholeheartedly. Thank you. You guys are making great points. It's exactly what I want to say. And thank you. A great example of true humble Israelite. Thank you. K Light 2019. Thank you. Appreciate that. So again, keep burning down the chat. All right. We're going to go on to the next slide. Do I have anyone who wants to read? Let's see, chat. Who do y'all pick to read the next slide?
Quick question. You think that was public information too?
Like
the whole kingdom?
I don't think so. Because the seer was the prophet. It was like he was taking messages from the king to the God of Israel. So it's like directly to him. Now, David might have had a council, but I don't think it was like out there to the public to know.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Oh, Deborah, chat's calling on you, Deborah.
Alrighty, okay. And David lifted up his eyes and saw the angel of the Lord stand between the earth and the heaven, having a drawn sword in his hand stretched out over Jerusalem. Then David and the elders of Israel, who were clothed in sackcloth, fell upon their faces. And David said unto God, Is it not I that commanded the people to be numbered? Even I it is that have sinned and done evil indeed. But as for these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, O Lord my God, be on me and on my father's house, but not on thy people, that they should be plagued. Sorry, plagued.
What do y'all think about this? I want to hear y'all's opinion, y'all's takes.
And you really can see like this is such a leader quality. Like anytime you see it in like books or movies or like, they shouldn't have to, be punished. It should be me, like, punishing me instead. That's what I see from that. I think that's a lot to say.
So putting your own life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron?
Yeah, I feel like in Israel, there's always some similarities with the leadership style, especially with the effective ones that are notable in the Bible. Of course, being humble, putting yourself before others, like Moses did. Abraham did even. Um, and many others. They put themselves ahead of them. Even like I know this is a throwback to like what I did last time about Israelite women. Hannah, I feel like she wanted a child, and it was difficult for her, but she'll give out her only child at that she knew of to the God of Israel, so she can be a mother.
Yes, true.
And that child became same as some of us know, and I feel like is in the same vein, like as a people. Yeah, we are different. I won't say that we're a monolith or anything. We have our own ideas and stuff like that. But as a core, we all have the same love for the God of Israel and our people. And no matter who you talk to, we'll have the same attitude when it comes to that.
That's so true. That's a great point. And you weighing in, what I kind of got from this one is what I see from a leader. I feel like in what you guys are all talking about, and even just kind of being just not even just a leader, but just a great Israelite. Because I also want to bring this down and kind of tie it in today. Um, Humility. I feel like you got to be able to take. Humility is to take responsibility, whether they're good or the bad. And I feel like people who are going to avoid their responsibilities or try to run away from them will end up making things worse. One some of the examples I think of are like people like Jonah. I feel like sometimes he tried to avoid his responsibility. He didn't humble himself and understand that his job is to deliver the message that the God of Israel gave him. Nothing else. Not really. You know what I'm saying? And to go above that is to go against the idea of being humble, understanding your place in the world, your purpose, and what you're there to do. And Felicia Singleton also, once again, had a great point about this earlier about how a leader has to understand the job they're supposed to do and fulfill it. And once again, tying that into that, you have to understand what your purpose is, what you're here to do, and try your best to fulfill it. And to go against that purpose and to try and change it or to go against that idea or purpose, I feel like that, once again, is going against the idea of being humble. It's putting yourself above something. So I once again really admire what David did here and what he does a lot, because David makes a handful of mistakes, but I always love it how it's like a chapter before immediately David. I don't think there's a single example where David has never once came back to the God of Israel and just said, "I'm sorry." I think even in this, he goes on to rent his clothes. Do you know how crazy it is for a king to rent his clothes? You know how expensive that his robes are, and for him to rent them, to take them off, to put on sackcloth, to humble himself, to throw all of those all that shiny and glitter, all that away, and just come to the God of Israel as who he is as just a man. That takes a lot of humility to me. And we even kind of had examples of that with Ocean Gate incident in the Titanic. These are rich, wealthy people, and instead of taking into the job or listening to the people whose job was it to design submarines, who said, "Hey, this isn't a good idea," they said, "Nah, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I know what I'm doing," and look where they ended up. So once again, humility is just the understanding. Humility is just kind of being able to.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
You got it. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Kayla, another great comment from Kayla. David was in the pursuit of perfection. Levi mentioned before. Exactly. So that's what I really liked about this lesson is they kind of tie into each other. How making mistakes just because not making, or how people see perfection as not making mistakes isn't the right way to see it. It's making mistakes and then changing after those mistakes. And to me, that takes the greatest deal of strength to pull off. I kind of want to, going into the next slide too, I kind of want to think about examples or times in your life where you felt like you weren't able to really humble yourself, or you got too prideful and you ended up making a worse mistake. So that's what I really want to do with Proverbs right here. Proverbs 16 verses 16 to 18. Who do we want to read though? Who do we want to read?
I mean, I can read. I mean, say anything.
We're gonna let Cameron read. Chat. What do y'all say? Me?
No, I'm missing the passion. I like to show my passion.
All right. They're calling for me, Cameron. What do you think, Cameron? Is that
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, I got it. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather than to be chosen than silver? Already, that's to me such a powerful verse. Once again, I feel like humility is the ability to see beyond the physical and material things, to really focus on what's truly important. Like the God of Israel, focusing on the heart. That's what I'm taking away from that one. Then verse 17, the highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. That's what I really want to talk about. What do y'all think? I want to kind of hear, like, do y'all have any examples of when maybe you kind of got too prideful, maybe should have listened to someone, maybe could have humbled yourself? I want to hear what y'all's takes were.
And I have lots of stories, but you gotta think of one.
I think I'm gonna do. I got things. I would chat. You feel free to give us a short synopsis of times when you felt a little bit prideful too. This is everyone's sharing time.
I have one. It's a late one. I was younger.
Go ahead, Cameron. Go ahead.
So as you can tell, some of y'all, I wear glasses. This particular morning, I wasn't wearing glasses. Right? I don't know. I thought I could see. I guess. So I was trying to make me some waffles, and I was trying to add cinnamon on my waffles.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I didn't have my glasses on, so it was actually chili powder.
Boy, I don't like where this is going.
So yeah, I ate the chili powder. But if I listened to my mother, she told me to put my glasses on, but I didn't want to listen. I was just waffles with some cinnamon on it, and yeah.
I mean, I've had quite a few, like like when you're a little kid and it's winter time and your mom's like, put on a coat, and you don't want to put on a coat because it's too puffy and it might mess up your outfit, but she's like, okay, I'm gonna let you learn, and then you go outside and it's freezing. You're like, dang, I should have brought that coat.
So true.
And there's other times. I think there was one time I had recently got my hair done, and it was like a blowout, and my mom put it up in a cute little style, and she was like, don't take out your hair. I was like, whatever. So I went to school. I I was like, I just want to see like a little curl, like a little strand, because I was so excited. And the band popped, and half my head was out. It was full blown out. And I came home, and it was all messed up. She was like, "You messed with your hair, didn't you?" And I had people laughing at my hair. I was like, I should have listened, because I was just thinking, oh, I got this. I look good. Didn't look good.
I got another food related one. So we was eating some Jamaican patties, and um, you know, some people, we cook them with the Scotch bonnet pepper. I know
Mhm.
it might be not spice it to everybody, but it's one of the spicier peppers, right? For some
Mhm.
reason, I thought it was like some candy or some fruit. So I just got it. My mom's like, "Don't eat that. That's Scotch bonnet pepper." I was like, "Oh, it is." I was okay, but I
Oh, it is? Like
let me tell you, the next 30 minutes, I was just drinking all the milk in the house because I did not want to be humble and listen. More of the story: be humble and listen, and don't eat Scotch bonnet peppers if you're not ready for that type of spice. That's all I'm saying.
That's so true. I noticed a lot of these are food related, but I think for me, I remember growing up, my dad always just tell me, "Levi, tie your shoe, tie your shoe, tie your shoe." I didn't listen because it was like the shoe fits perfectly. It's not a big deal, right? So I used to go outside a lot. And one thing I would like to do is ride my bike. So I was riding my bike, didn't have my shoes tied all the way, and the string got caught into like the little bike thing, so tripped and I fell forward, hit the pavement. I was like, "Dang, what happened?" It's like the whole shoelace is caught up in the bike.
Hmm.
So I had to sit there and untangle it, scratches and bruises, and I felt like an idiot because I should have listened to what my dad's always telling me just to tie my shoes.
I mean,
So
there's a reason for everything. Like, this is just like the God of Israel's way of like, punishing us. Like, it's like you need to humble yourself. That's literally what it feels like. Like,
exactly.
you're literally getting humbled. Like, that's literally what it feels like. Um, and
And
so like,
I even trying to remember humble. It's really hard to do when you're in the moment and when you're feeling so prideful and you're like, because when you're in that pride, to me, pride also means passion. When you're prideful, you have a lot of passion, sometimes too much passion, because you feel like you know everything. You're like, no, this. But one thing that I've been trying to do, especially when I'm trying to in conversations with my parents or if I disagree, is just slow down because you don't want to come off as disrespectful to your parents. And to my younger rise, folks, remember when you're doing this because there are going to be times where you disagree with your parents. And I feel like it's okay to have those disagreements, but you have to make sure that you are always respectful because your parents are always trying to look out for you. So sometimes it helps us to take a deep breath and make sure that you're communicating what you want in the best way possible and that you're understanding what they want for you in the best way possible. You can't do that if you're prideful and think that your way is the only way or your way is the highway. You can't do that if you're in that mindset. You can only do that if you humble yourself. So take a deep breath and try to understand what your parent, your mom, dad, elder, auntie, whatever they're trying to say to you. Take that moment to try and understand that because only when you can focus on that is when you can come to a solution that'll make both parties happy. And here I am doing all that yapping, but I gotta work on that too myself. So
mhm,
let's keep that in
same
mind.
here.
I know my mother will hold this accountable to me, so
Yeah.
we'll be working on that.
Yes.
But that's just one thing I want to mention to, especially my younger people, because I've been there. Trust me, been in your shoes, been in those heated arguments, and it was just sometimes I just sat back and said, you know, maybe my mom would not, maybe we wouldn't be as so upset with each other if I had just taken the moment to calm down and truly understand what she was trying to say, truly humble myself, and then you can have a better dialogue. So once again, just want to remember that pride is getting in the way of that. But one thing I also want to talk about is I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing to have pride or be prideful. I think the problem is when you take pride in yourself and only in yourself and not those around you or those that help you get to where you are. Because I feel David to me, he had a lot of pride, but I feel like he had pride in the God of Israel and being an Israelite. That's the way I see it. So I think it's also important to know what you're taking pride in. It's a balance of everything, really. That's all that just came to mind. So just had to yap that about a bit.
That's cool. It's true. It's all about balance and humility. tranquility, if you will.
Look
Which-
at you, all fancy.
right? I feel like that all goes hand in hand with a lot of things. There's reasons why arrogance, haughty, and being too prideful, always have similar results. Most cases.
And one thing that I just came to mind too is how we all gave our stories when we were prideful. And what did the scripture said? Pride come before destruction. So that's what you said, true, Deborah. It's pride is the first step to failure. So remember that, if you're being too prideful, that's just step one to ultimate failure. So that's something to just keep in mind. So we're gonna move on to the next slide. And this is the kind of the slide I want to close out on. Stay humble. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan, so we know how to put this in the background right now. Stay humble. So
Hey, be humble.
stay
Sit down. Yeah.
humble. Hey, Deborah, why don't you read this last verse?
Oh,
I want to
okay.
hear more Deborah. Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
That's crazy, man.
Walk right into that one. Okay. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life.
So true. So once again, this comes from Proverbs, and I feel like this would be a really beautiful scripture just to close things out on. But before I go on my yap session, I want to hear from my panel today. Once again, shout out to my panel. It's a small panel today, but I really appreciate what everyone had to say. So shout out to my panel real quick. Burn the chat down.
Rise up today. Go street.
But I want to hear what y'all have to say. What are y'all thoughts?
Also I like how in verse 2, um, they mentioned the rich and the poor meet together, and the Lord is the maker of them all. I feel like that's pretty cool. Like even like nowadays, like they'll say like rich people and poor people can die of the same disease, of the same sicknesses. Um, and at the end of the day, you are just a man. You are just flesh and bone. You can't, no matter what you make or how much wealth that you may generate. At the end of the day, you're still flesh and bone. You can't play God or anything like that. And being humble, even at the lowest or the highest, um, is like I said, it's essential. Like even poor people, it's important for poor people to be humble as well. I mean, always, yeah, as well, and yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. I'm sorry, but also like I know, and also in verse in Psalm 19, they say like the Lord's word is sweeter than honey at the honeycomb. Poor or rich people, they can be humble and have open mind um, to gain or to progress in their lives and towards their goals.
That's so true.
Yeah, I like how the verse pointed out, rich and poor. I think sometimes often we can think because someone is like rich or has more that they don't have humility. And it's like usually the other way around, but it can be from both sides and both parts. And it's just really important to continue to have that factor of humility, whether you're rich or poor.
Speaking facts. And I like what Cameron said about mentioned about Psalms 19 with the sweeter than the honey of the honeycomb. And that's kind of what I want to bring to light is as an Israelite, I feel like you have to be humble because the rewards we see aren't always material, you're not gonna God of Israel isn't gonna just spawn some money because you praised him. No. The reward is that you know his name. The reward is that you have the opportunity to praise him. That's what we have Israelites have to understand. That's what you have to have the humility to understand. There's one song that I love. I think it's from the UK branch, and
What's UK?
so shout out UK. But there's one song I can't remember. I love this song. I can't remember the title of it, but I know the background. It starts with like this preacher, and he's like going on about if you praise the God, he'll give you money. So I think some of my some of my then it goes into refute and all that. But some of my younger Rise members might know what it is. But so if you know, please put in the chat because I totally forgot to tell them. But I feel like once again that talks about how the other side is very focused on material things. They see money and it's directed all to God, wealth is directed to God. Like they think all those things are aligned to them. Money is their God in a way. You can see it on the dollar bill, everything they do. They worship money. Every single action they do is to get more money and material things. But here in Israel, we have that understanding. Like you said, the reward is that I'm able to be here with my people, that they're able to here to nurture me and watch over me. The reward we get is, like you said, the word of God is a reward enough for us.
I have a point to make. I'm sorry. Just to, not, it's the same thing, but just so I just want to make this other point. So as a teacher of the word, of the Lord God of Israel, as the authority of the King James Bible, as Israelites, I feel like it's important to have humility when teaching, outside the nation, spreading the word outside. Even like when it comes to like, yeah, we may have a mixed multitude, but you need to have the humility to understand, that we teaching the word of God of Israel. There's no color or no creed or anything behind that. As long as you follow the law, statutes, and commandments, and you have the humility to listen, to obey to the God of Israel, the one and true only authority. That's how you get success. And like even as like a teacher, yeah, like we're like in class and whatever, you listen to your students to at least try to make the connection. That's why we try to make connections all day today. So we can build bridge and establish a relationship, where you learn. And just the humility of recognizing, that, like for example, Levi earlier today was talking about One Piece. We do have, we may have, some younger viewers, but I think that, and just the humility to recognize that, like, yeah, they may understand this connection and might actually, then help them understand. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's, like I said, like that's another essential thing as well. Just to add, that's all. That's all I had though.
Thank you, Cameron. I'm going to read some comments here. Thanks for Rise, Rep, Levi, Cameron, and Deborah of ATL. Without being humble, how can you become an awesome teacher and leader for the God of Israel? So true. We got another comment from Jorge Santos. Great job, Rise panel, Levi, Deborah, and Cameron, and brethren. Pleasure to hear you teach while I learn. Peace and blessings. Another one from C. Calhoun. Levi, Deborah, and Cameron, you have presented a fantastic teaching, reminders, and discussion tonight. Thank you for your youthful wisdom and inspiration. And Felicia Singleton, shout out Felicia Singleton, everybody. Shout out.
Yeah, bro, the MVP of the chat.
MVP. The God of Israel will provide for his children. We don't have to focus on material things because we are in the world and not of it. Thanks, Rise. Amen. Speaking bangers. New day. Thank you, Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, Levi, Deborah, and Cameron for this great lesson. 7777777. So let's go around. Closing thoughts. Closing thoughts, Deborah, Cameron, what y'all have to say to close out?
It was a really great lesson. I think it was very fruitful, and I really hope it just inspired a lot of the viewers watching, and just kind of sets a reminder to just being able to correct when you're wrong and just being able to grow from it. I still have to do that a lot, it's a part of growing. I mean, your teachers still have to, like, it's all over. It applies to everyone, and as long as you're growing from it, I think that's going to be a real, like, a key factor in your life.
So true.
Yeah, I agree. I think a big part of being humble or of this lesson is recognizing that you always always have to be humble. Like there's sometimes there might be moments of weakness or people trying to get you out your character, but just keeping that, humility and composure, it's great because it's a great also like sometimes, like I know the Bible, I know the word, whatever. Like even like all all right, senior brethren, they even had to be humble, to learn more lessons or have a refresher on this and that, or to remember, some things, just in the day to day things. But yeah, that's my closing remarks.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you. Fires in the chat, yo. Um, for my closing remarks, I hope you guys really enjoyed this lesson. Shout out to my panel, Deborah and Cameron, for being here tonight. I really appreciate you guys. Shout out to Rise, ATL Rise. Shout out Fires in the chat for that.
Yo.
Um, I guess humility to me, I feel like that's something that I'm still working on. I feel like it's something that everyone's trying to work on, really. But I feel like me personally, I feel like it's something I want to work on more. Trying to stay humble and understand the best way to understand someone and to form a strong relationship and connection, like we're all talking about tonight, is gonna be through humility. If both sides are humble, both sides are being honest with each other, that's gonna be the best way to come to a solution. And I always like talking about David and Moses. I know we hear about them a lot, but they're probably my favorite Bible characters. I can't lie. And I just really appreciate their ability to humble themselves and to take responsibility, always sticking out their own necks for the sake of their people and for the sake of their branch and love of their branch. And I feel like that's one important thing you have to have as an Israelite is always doing your best for the people you care about and those who are always going to be there in the long run for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Make sure you
And
like. Oh, nope.
oh, sorry. One more thing, in honor of ATL Rise, go stream up the Rise song on Israelite Nation music website. We have great music. We have the best music, so go listen to it.
Like, thank you. Thanks for the shout out. Thanks for the shout out. We hear you. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and donate. All right. All of those donations go back into the branch and they help us to bring you even better quality videos. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Saturday lesson. Make sure you tune in on time for that. It's going to be we're going to have a great lesson for you. Hope you guys are there. Make sure you like and subscribe that. And hey, be on the lookout for the next Rise takeover. Okay. It's coming. Be ready for that. Next time we need to have 100 likes. Okay. So we know you guys want to see more of this. So make sure you guys are burning down that like button, doing all of that, So that's all I got to say. So peace out.
Peace.
Peace.